Meanwhile, the Gulf Coast, we've had a fairly rocky start already. Big storms hitting Beaumont, Port Arthur earlier. Now
Don't suffer in silence. Sledgehammer.
Загорбачова!
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 It's a very light member of the pepper family.
Have a bath of linseed oil.
The weather outside.
2 points are good.
Humanity and invasive species have always had a complicated relationship. Since the dawn of man in Africa and our migration outwards onto every continent, we've always had a habit of bringing an animal out of its original habitat and somewhere else, either intentionally or unintentionally. While it is undeniable that invasive species do an incredible amount of damage to the world, it is still worthwhile to realize the benefits a non-native species can bring, such as aid to public well-being, the economy, and in revitalizing degraded ecosystems.
One of the most common misconceptions is that an invasive species and a non-native species are the same thing. That is not true. All invasive species are non-native, but not all non-native are invasive.
Non-native species aren't always the bad guys. In this episode, we'll take a look at the many positives they bring. I'm Ian Budke, and this is the Invasive Species Show. So what is the difference between an invasive and non-native? An invasive species, by definition, is an organism that harms its new environment and is therefore a complete negative. However, a non-native species is simply an organism that is just introduced somewhere else, so it can be both positive and negative. And it can have many benefits. There are many reasons someone would want to bring an animal into a new place, but perhaps the most common motivation is that of economic gain, particularly in the agricultural sector. For example, soybeans, kiwi fruit, wheat, honeybees, and all livestock, except the American bison and the turkey, are non-native species to North America. Collectively, non-native crops and livestock account for 98% of U.S. food and provide a value of around $800 billion every year to the U.S. economy. Non-native species have become such a vital part of the US diet that if we were to remove even just a few of these species, the entire country's food industry would likely collapse. Additionally, many non-native species can be used as biological control agents, essentially working as natural pesticide. Take earthworms, for example, which can naturally filter soil and increase agricultural productivity by 25% in some cases, which in turn lowers the cost of food. Even a majority of the feed given to livestock is non-native to the Americas. Introduced species are an integral part of the US economy and agricultural sector. Non-native species can also be intentionally introduced in order to fill the gaps left behind by diminished or extinct species, as seen in Hawaii's third largest island, Oahu.
During the 90s and 2000s, we lost many of Oahu's major birds due to deforestation and development. So we tried something we'd never done up to that point. We brought in non-native species to try and fill the gap in the ecosystem with things like seed dispersal. Not only was it a success, but we saw a complete revitalization of the island's ecosystem.
As hard as it may be to believe, introduced species are in fact a major resource in helping a degraded ecosystem bounce back. In Pennsylvania, honeysuckle has helped restore ecological balance by providing more food to birds on the verge of extinction. There are now 3 to 4 times as many fruit-eating birds, such as robins and catbirds, than there were just 30 years ago. But perhaps the single most ubiquitous example of non-native species in the US is one I've neglected to mention thus far, and that's with pets. Yes, that's right. All domesticated cats, Dogs, hamsters, guinea pigs, and many others are not native to the Americas, and yet they are extremely important. Thousands of studies have been published throughout the last few centuries documenting the benefits of having a pet: improved physical and mental health through reduced stress, increased exercise, and enhanced social connections from walking them, or just simple companionship. According to the APPA, nearly 70% of American households own a pet. In recent years, this number is only growing. Pets, to a large portion of the population, are an irreplaceable part of their family and their lives.
Change? Did I change anyone? Oh hey, didn't see you there. Yeah, you know, I got a lot of pets. None of them are really native to here, but they keep me pretty happy.
Furthermore, education can be provided with the introduction of non-natives, most prominently with zoos. Zoos are great entertainment, but more importantly, they are a major resource in facilitating curiosity for the world's animals, in animal research and conservation. Zoos, which are almost always nearly or entirely comprised of non-native species, facilitate hundreds of thousands of jobs and contribute up to $20 billion annually to the US. The point of this episode was not to scoff at the mountain of evidence that invasive species are destroying the planet. They are. The point of this episode was to show that no one issue is ever completely black and white. Life is complex, nuanced, and beautiful. To fully understand an issue, you must first comprehend both sides of it. Only then can you do the right thing to improve it. I'm Ian Budke, and this was the Invasive Species Show.
Almost 50 homes sustaining some damage. Witnesses report the tornado traveled on the ground.
You don't know me, but I know you.